One day there was a group fight in the apartment complex, and he was walking outside to go visit a friend. It was a group of a lot of adults, a lot of children, and they were filming the fight. But one of the guys walked up with the gun, and so one of the guys who was fighting jumped into his car to try to get away, but he ended up striking my son.
Tragedy has a way of drawing people closer, intertwining their pain and purpose. For April Richardson and Patricia Allen, what began as a connection through faith at Antioch Bible Fellowship deepened into an unshakable partnership in the face of unspeakable loss.
Seeing a child in a bed and then knowing as the days went by that it wasn't getting better. Up until the day that we had to walk in and say our goodbyes, I think that's really hit home for me, to where I never experienced that before. To see, I just, not even with an adult, I never saw a lifeless body of a child. And I think that was the hardest part, to walk away and then to console my sister at the same time and not break down.
Patricia stood by April through every moment, her presence a steady refuge in a sea of sorrow. When the time came to say goodbye, the room was wrapped in a profound silence, the kind that carries the weight of love and loss too deep for words.
On my way home, when I was in a car, I had to go get some clothes from the hospital and come back, and God told me that when I left the hospital, he wasn't coming with me. That was the hardest day of my life. In fact, the day they told us to say goodbye, they had saline in his eyes. It's one of the brain dead tests that they do. And they told us to say goodbye. And when I said goodbye, the saline teardrop fell from his eye. It was horrible.
Sometimes it is in the deepest shadows that our purpose begins to take shape. What once was overwhelming pain was reshaped into a steadfast mission to save lives, heal families, and infuse hope into the heart of their community.
That moment, we both decided that if we could save another child, that was solely our mission to do.
And from that moment, No More Violence took shape, a movement grounded in love and forged by loss. Though April's son DJ was struck by a car, the driver was fleeing the threat of gun violence, making DJ a victim of the devastation that extends far beyond the bullet, leaving heartbreak in its wake. Over the years, Patricia and April have brought hope to more than 95 families devastated by violence. It's a testament to their dedication, but also a sobering reminder of the work that remains.
It's kind of outrageous sometimes when I look back on it, from the time we got started, 2011, until now, of how many families have come through No More Violence. I think because, one, we're not just an organization, we are a family to the families that come to us. They see us as very sincere, they see us as compassionate, and they see us as an organization also that is there as a support system for them. Not only just a time of bereavement, but long-term support. Because we know that after everything is over with, they're gonna need to continue. Days and months and years will still go by without their loved one, but then they need a support system. So they need someone, not just a place of business to have a funeral service, but they need a place to where they know they can continue to get their support after, and then that's what we're about.
Since 2011, No More Violence has been a pillar of hope and comfort in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, standing with families in their darkest moments and working tirelessly to prevent others from enduring the same pain. Unfortunately, like so many grassroots organizations, their impact far outweighs the support they receive. Despite their proven track record and deep trust they've built within the community, financial backing remains elusive. While large organizations secure the headlines and the funding, No More Violence continues to do the work on a minimal budget, relying on passion, personal sacrifice, and the unwavering belief that every life saved is worth the struggle.
You know, we always talk about we need a box truck, we need a building, we need finances to be able to continue to make the organization operate. However, we've been able to do without, but we're still in need. There are so many people in the community that see the work that we do, and they are able to sponsor us. We're able to get a lot of work done, even without the help, because we love what we do, and we don't allow that to stop us. But it's a lot of needs, and if we had those type of needs, we'll be able to do more. We'll be able to provide more for the families. We'll be able to provide more for the community when there's events that we need, there's programs that we need to do. But we continue to make it happen. And even as a place as where we're at right now, we're able to use this type of place to be able to meet the needs of the community. And we're so grateful for our community partners that's been able to help us.
It's two things, man, that constantly hurt our community all the time. One is that we have what I like to call blackface, but white heart, which is people who are willing to be the face of these nonprofit organizations, major corporate nonprofits that don't look like us, do not have no interest in our neighborhoods, but they realize in order to receive the government funding and continue to receive federal dollars, they have to have individuals who do look like the people that they're serving in the neighborhood. And they hire those people to go into the neighborhood to gain trust. But at the end of the day, they're only there to produce numbers, not results. They're only there to check boxes, present data, because data equals dollars. The ones that's doing the real work are heavily underfunded. And the bottom line is, the problem is that we keep trying to give these people who are grassroots organizations, the people who are boots on the ground, the people who do stand in the trenches, the ones who do go to these court hearings and child support hearings, the ones who are going and saving the homeless and taking people to drug rehabs, the ones who are getting gang members to go on job interviews and change their lives and mentorship programs, the ones that's doing that real type of work, they don't get no money. They are heavily underfunded. They are doing it out of the kindness of their heart or the bottom of their pocket. And it's time to stop that.
So I'll use the city of Dallas as an example. Dallas went out and they got a national organization to give the money to. Well, that national organization comes down and give the pennies to the people here on the ground. And those are flawed principles. But what you find out in many of these cities, especially those that have black elected officials who communities are the ones struggling the most, they either ignorant or they don't care. But either one, we continually have this violence that just escalates, and they should be putting money into the pockets of the people who are on the ground in that community, who can touch and do more, who can hire and who can leave their jobs because they're spending the money from their jobs trying to make the organization work. Imagine what they could do if that was their full-time job, because the heart's right.
The community knows that we are grassroots organization. We are very sincere, but we can't understand sometimes why we are the ones that are left out. Why No More Violence left out when we know the works that we do, and we still don't get the funding. It's been like that since really, I would say within the third year we started in 2013, and that's when I think our numbers wasn't that big, but we were still doing the works in the community, but we were still asking for help, financial, but we still wasn't getting it. We just couldn't understand how some type of organization that was, of course, they probably been in it longer than we have, that we were doing the works. We couldn't understand it. And then now that we are at the 13th year, we have a lot of history of work that we have served the community, and we have shown and proven to the community that we are consistent about the works that we do.
For years, communities like Dallas-Fort Worth have watched as funding meant to address systemic issues has been funneled into outside organizations. groups disconnected from the people they claim to serve. This approach has done more harm than good, leaving grassroots organizations struggling to survive while the community suffers.
Man, they help my organization a lot because I can do more. I'm into three schools with no funding. Everything that we do, because I got a couple of police, 4 real police officers working on side of me right now. And they can't get the funding because they police officers. So they try and look into resources to give me that funding, but it's not coming.
Felton Jenkins, a former gang member turned mentor, is the founder of Boys to Men, a Fort Worth-based program helping young boys navigate bullying, drugs, gangs, and gun violence while teaching life skills. The program's success has gained the support of local police officers, who see it as a vital bridge between law enforcement and the community. Felton's mission is clear, but like so many grassroots efforts, Boys to Men needs funding to keep shaping futures and saving lives.
I just had a fall festival. One kid, he a refugee. He came around 5 times to get hot dogs for his family. And he filled his backpack up. And we seen the need. So I told my people, don't say nothing, give him everything he needs to take back home. Come to our events and look at the need in our community. Just don't sit back and make votes of what we need. No, come into our community and see the need. See the need so we can make changes. I don't need you to be sitting on board tables. I need you to come into our community. I'm not going downtown to no city council. This is my city council right here in the community.
The frustration is palpable for these grassroots organizations that are denied funding. Unfortunately, the most affordable and ineffective solution has often been to shift the responsibility to law enforcement.
Locking up a bunch of people don't keep the city safe. They grew up in a household, you just locked up one. It's still 3 or 4 of them people left. And what's worse, what about the people that you up there that's gonna come back home from prison? They're not gonna stay locked up in jail forever. So what you gonna do? You gonna keep building bigger jails every time it's a new crime? Or are you actually gonna go ahead and fix the problem and really share some of that government money and philanthropic and governmental dollars with the people who actually care about their own community? Help them. That's what you do. Help the people who actually care about their own community. The ones who's been breaking up fights for free. The people who've been extraditing women from domestic violence and helping them find shelters and stuff for free. Women people who've been taking care of single mothers for free. People who have been going on the street corners and witnessing to gang members and stuff like that, trying to get them to change their lives for free. Help them out.
It was hard for me to get back and forth because money tight.
Mar Butler of Tree Leadership, a boots-on-the-ground organization dedicated to supporting families and children in crisis, knows the struggle firsthand. From years of experience, he's seen how large outside organizations fail to connect with the communities they claim to serve. According to Butler, when it comes to solving the issue of youth gun violence, their absence isn't just about funding or resources, it's about something even simpler: listening.
The first thing that we have to do is listen. We don't listen. You know, if we don't listen, a lot of them would tell you what they're going through if you just took some time to sit down and just listen. They'll tell you what they're lacking. Anybody would tell you what the problem is, but what we cannot do as leaders is sit down and take a little bit of the problem and feel like we have a whole solution. We have to listen holistically if we want to come up with a holistic solution to the problems that's going on today.
So with that being said, I think it's important to find somebody, and not just any therapist, you got to find a therapist that your young person connects to. Again, we deserve to go. We deserve to have somebody that we can sit down and be able to talk to. Not everybody I'm going to connect with, right? I think that's very valuable, and give that young person space. If they don't want to talk, okay, maybe it's not the season, but there's times in a young person's life where, processing is healthy, sharing is healthy. And if an adult can think for themselves, I can reflect back to when I really needed somebody to talk to. Asking an adult, well, what did you need in that seat? What the young person, the young version of you, what did you need? Oh, I needed this. I needed somebody to talk. I needed da-da-da. I can think for myself, like I said, being a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, I remember that time in 7th grade. I needed somebody to see me. to know that when I came back to school on that Monday, you look different, you seem different, or you're angry. Why are you so angry and irritable? You know what I'm saying? Or I see you acting, like, notice those things. Don't dismiss it. Oh, that's just such and such acting that way, So I think even adults understanding symptoms and behaviors and not dismissing and chalking it up and labeling that child as a problem.
Therapist Latoya Smith, CEO of LCS Counseling, has spent years helping children navigate crisis and understands how critical it is for young people to have a safe space to express their emotions. She emphasizes that emotional expression is more than just healing. It's a lifeline for children who might otherwise carry unspoken pain into adulthood. Patricia, who spent many years working in Child Protective Services before leading No More Violence, agrees wholeheartedly.
A lot of our children are lacking, I use the 4-letter word, love. And a lot of times we see our children react not sometimes in a positive way, but a negative way because of what has affected them in their past. And their outlet is getting it out in some type of way, whether it's joining a gang, whether it is trying to get attention in the wrong way, of being easy to be influenced by their friends, trying to fit in. I see so much, and it hurts to see that in a lot of our young people. And their reaction is sometimes, unfortunately, if it's not a mother or a father in the presence or the home, and sometimes you do have the mother and father in the home, but it's still something that's missing that has caused them to veer off.
I can't tell you the amount of times I go out into the community and do community work, and people are like, "Ooh, I've been looking for a therapist," or "I need a therapist." They'll know, they haven't done their own work to find it. That's why community events are important. I often say therapy needs to be taken out of these 4 walls because we need to show up in spaces people may not normally show up in, right? So now when we pop up at the local community center or when we pop up at the church function that's doing the mental health day, we're talking to people that aren't going to make the phone call, aren't going to ask their primary care physician, aren't going to Google the therapist. But now that I'm there, you know what? I probably need to come talk to you. That's what they'll say. The conversation starts. And I think there's a beauty in that. We have to show up too. We have to be in spaces. We got to carry this work outside of these 4 walls and into the community.
If we can meet these children where they are before they become adults with these wicked, evil minds and these street tendencies, and we could get them on board, like, you have something to live for, you got something to offer. God gets a gift in each and every one of us. And if we could just pour into them, plant into them, love on them, and sometimes that's all we have, because we even partner with a high school in Dallas, Texas that had over 100 homeless children, but yet they still go to school. So it's time for parents the parents and the community to show up, because it's these kids that are killing kids that are killing us. We're living and we're having to bury them. So that's a problem. That's where the conversation needs to be. How can we save these children? And if hopefully we can save them, now we won't have this when they become adults.
Every time I do a candlelight or funeral for free, every time I see a mama cry and that man, young daughter, young son left behind, and all these young people sitting in a circle, crying and grieving, it tears me up, brother. Young man got killed on Miller named Corey. The next day, I went out there, 4 young men sitting in a circle at about 10 o'clock at night. They did not move till about 1 o'clock in the morning. They got candles. They grieving with this picture right there. These young people, 16, probably it's a 13 out there sitting in a circle crying, because they missing this young man. That tears me up to see babies sitting there, man. Babies sitting on that corner.
In every neighborhood, every home, and every heart touched by gun violence, there is a story. In part 1, we heard from the youth, their voices raw with frustration, fear, and a longing for change. In part 2, we sat with families who've endured the unimaginable, their lives forever altered by the loss of loved ones. Their grief, though deeply personal, becomes a collective cry for justice and peace. And now, in part 3, we've turned to the grassroots organizations, the ones working tirelessly to bridge the gap. They are the hands that lift, the voices that comfort, and the feet that march forward despite the odds. Yet, they remain underfunded, undervalued, and unsupported by the systems that should empower them. Still, there is hope. Hope in the persistence of these grassroots warriors who refuse to give up. Hope in the youth who dream of brighter futures. Hope in the families who transform their pain into purpose. For the Black community, the journey is far from over, but the roots of change are beginning to take hold. Each act of love, each moment of mentorship, and each life saved nourishes the growth of a future where violence no longer defines the narrative.
My hope and my prayer is that every man and woman will look in the mirror and they'll make choices not that's just good for them and their immediate family, but it's good for the masses, it's good for their community, it's good for their distant cousin. And then I think we got a chance to get down the road.
Gun violence continues to devastate families and communities, but together we can be part of the solution. If this story moves you, please share it with others. I'm Al Deal, and this perspective you'll only find on the Black Blockchain.